Welcome to Boomer Being. It's summertime, that time of year when most of us enjoy a cold summer supper. Today my guest is Jodi MacDonald. Jodi is an enthusiastic cook committed to healthy eating and sustainability. Welcome, Jodi.
Thanks for inviting me to cook healthy today, Leslie. You know, when I'm preparing meals for my family, I of course want to provide healthy food, but I also strive to purchase sustainable groceries as much as I can.
What exactly is sustainable?
Sustainability? Well, you know, the idea of sustainable living is to make sure that the present generation, in meeting its needs, doesn't compromise the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It's really about having the least amount of negative impact on the earth. Healthy eating, healthy environment. And you just take that goal with you when you're planning your meals, like we did planning these recipes today.
Excellent.
So, should we get started?
Let's get started.
Okay, well, our first dish is gazpacho, which is cold tomato soup, and it's the perfect summer recipe. I'm really glad you picked this, Leslie. I like it because it's easy, and nobody likes to have a hot kitchen in the summer, right? So you don't need your oven, you don't need to be standing over a hot grill. The soup itself is cold, so it's refreshing when you eat it. And tomatoes that you can get locally are the primary ingredient. And using local in-season vegetables for your recipes really is the easiest way to be sustainable when you're planning your groceries, when you're planning your menus. So I'm going to get started here. We have the ingredients, and you could tell just by looking at our ingredients that this is a healthy recipe, right? It's just all natural ingredients. There's no additives, no preservatives. It's just all things that are good for you.
And the aroma is wonderful.
I know, it does smell good. Too bad we don't have smell-o-vision, right? Okay, well, I'm going to get started. The recipe calls for 2 cups of chopped tomatoes, and I've already got 1 cup that's chopped up here, but I'm going to make a 2nd cup. And you really don't need to chop these too small because the food processor is going to do most of the work for us. I just really need to get a rough chop on these. And you can use any kind of tomato, really whatever your preference is. I really love the taste of fresh garden tomatoes. And I have a garden in my home, and I can honestly say that the tomatoes that I get from my garden are some of the tastiest I've ever eaten. They're delicious. And I know that not everyone can, have the time or the space to have their own garden, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to just have a couple of tomato plants on your patio. It's easy. And then you'd have fresh tomatoes available to you for your recipes. It's great. So I'm going to put the tomatoes in here. Okay, we don't want that part. Okay, and then next ingredient is 1 cucumber, and we already have this chopped up, right? This is 1 cucumber that's been peeled and chopped, and also 1 green pepper that's been cored and chopped up. And again, you can see it's a really rough chop because the food processor is going to do most of the work for us. We just needed to chop these roughly. Okay, probably have enough there. And in the summertime in Andover, one of the fun ways to get your vegetables is to go to the farmer's market.
I thought of that.
Yeah, on Saturdays, it starts June 30th, the beginning of the season, goes all the way through October 6th, 12:30 to 3 on Saturdays. You can go down and get your fresh vegetables there. There's a lot of local farmers who have produce there. And I think the farmer's market is great because it promotes healthy eating, sustainability, and local economy. It's you're getting your produce local. It's not coming from halfway around the world.
Right.
Using up a tremendous amount of energy getting it here.
Those are some good points.
Yeah, and I think it's nice to support the local farmers too. Okay, so our next ingredient is the onions. We have 1 chopped onion, as well as we've got 2 scallions that have been already chopped up here, and we're getting a little full here.
I noticed.
I'm probably going to put in less onions. I'm not, personally, flavor of onions I think can overpower a dish. I know you like onions, don't you? If you were making this at home, you'd use all the onions, right?
Well, I like them, and they're very healthy.
Onions are good for you? What can you tell me about onions?
They help build strong bones, and they include a lot of compounds with health benefits. In one study, onions were found to reduce mortality from coronary heart disease. So that's some powerful information.
Okay, they're good for me, but I'm going to put a little bit less because we're also getting a little full in our food processor here. Okay, we also need a clove of garlic minced, And this is probably another ingredient where I've got room for it, but if you like garlic, you can add more.
Right.
If you're not a big fan of garlic, you can, cut back a little bit. And garlic's good for us too, though, right?
Garlic is a global remedy, and interesting to find it's one of the oldest medicinal foods.
Okay. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add in is tomato juice. This is really just to give it the, make it liquidy enough. And this is a great tomato juice Leslie found for us. It's the Whole Foods 365 brand. It's organic tomato juice. The only thing in here is water and tomatoes, yeah. So let me measure this out. The recipe calls for 4 cups, and what I'm probably going to do with the tomato juice is just put in about 2 cups into the food processor, and then the rest I'm going to wait and add in when we're done, because this doesn't need to be blended any further.
And we don't want to get splattered.
Yeah. I mean, another thing you can do, I don't have a very big food processor, you can do this in 2 batches, right?
Yeah.
Not do the whole thing all at once. But we need enough liquid in here so that the food processor can get everything to the right consistency. Okay, so this I'm going to save and add in when we've done processing it. Okay, next thing I'm going to measure in is red wine vinegar, and this I need 3 tablespoons. And this just gives it some nice zing. One. Okay, there we go. Got our red wine vinegar in there. Okay, and now I need the lemon, and we're going to use a fresh lemon, not any of those little plastic ones you get at the supermarket which have preservatives. A fresh lemon really is the way to go. We need 3 tablespoons, and that's about how much you get from 1 lemon. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze this here. Anything you can tell me about lemons?
Lemons are a great source of vitamin C. They're a powerful antioxidant as well as an anti-inflammatory agent.
Okay, where are you getting all these great food facts?
Well, I'm glad you asked me, because I brought the book, The 150 Healthiest Foods on Earth by Johnny Bowden, and I've had it a couple years now, and it reads almost like a novel. You can look up any natural food and find out what's healthy about it, why, what you can use it for. So it's great to leave on the kitchen table, maybe have the kids take a look at it and see what they're eating. And I've found it a reference for all these fun little food facts.
Well, that's great. Okay, I'm going to pour my my juice through here, make sure I don't need any seeds. And I'm just eyeballing it. This really, it's about 3 tablespoons what you get from 1 lemon. Okay. So now we are ready to add our spices. And we've already measured out, I've got a teaspoon of basil that's going in, a teaspoon of tarragon, and then I've also got a 1/4 cup of fresh chopped parsley. And the parsley is you really do want to use the fresh. You don't want to go with the, that's with especially an ingredient where it's this much, the flavor of the fresh really makes a big difference. And look how nice and bright and green this is. Okay, we'll go ahead and add our parsley in here. Okay, and I think the last thing that I need to add is just a little bit of sugar. The recipe calls for a teaspoon of sugar, and that's really just to take the edge off, make sure the acid of the tomatoes is balanced. And what we're using today is Florida Crystals. This is organic sugar. It's just like regular sugar. You can use this the same as you would use sugar in any recipe. But unlike regular sugar, this is not refined. It's much less processed, and it is an organic product. You can see it's got a sort of a lighter brown color to it. It's made from evaporated cane juice, so it's got a little bit of a richer taste to it. But this is an organic product, and we got this at Whole Foods, which is just such a great source. We're lucky here in Andover that we have a Whole Foods where you can get organic produce and organic products all year round. In fact, Whole Foods provided us with the ingredients that we're using today for the show, so we really do appreciate their support of healthy eating.
Most definitely.
Okay, so I think we've got everything in here. I'm going to go ahead and process this. And it really shouldn't take Shouldn't take too much. Let's go ahead and pulse this. See what's getting right chopped up there? Okay.
Nice and chunky.
Yeah, let's take a look. I mean, you think that's a good consistency? I mean, I'll just give it another pulse.
Well, plus you're going to add more liquid to it.
Yes, yes, of course. But I'm just thinking about, you know, here, the nice thing about gazpacho, you really have some personal taste you can blend. If you really like a smoother soup, you can process it more. But if you like it chunky, then you know, process it till it's a consistency that you would enjoy. I like it a little chunky. I'm just going to give it one more pulse. I think we're good.
Excellent.
Oops. Sorry about that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into our container here and mix in the rest of the tomato juice. In fact, I'll pour that in first. Okay. Get my... Okay, oops, got a little bit of leakage, but not too bad. Scoop this in.
Beautiful.
So, and you know, these ingredients are all organic, which is just great. They're free from pesticides, fertilizers, no genetic engineering. I mean, for something to be labeled organic, it's got to meet those requirements from the USDA.
That's good to
So,
know.
you know, really nice and healthy. Okay. So now we're just going to combine it with the rest of the...
It looks so rich.
Yeah, it's great. Look at the colors. Okay, so the last thing to do is add a little salt and pepper. I've got my 365 sea salt here, which is a great alternative to regular salt.
It's nice to add it to taste at the end.
Yeah, we can
Not have
adjust
it
that
too salty.
afterwards. Okay.
Beautiful.
Now, this was easy, right? This is very easy. The hard part is we have to wait to eat it. Okay, because really, for the gazpacho flavor to really meld and develop, you want to chill it for at least 2 hours. We can take a taste, though.
That's
okay,
good.
you want to give it a taste?
I think we should.
Okay. And give me one of those spoons, too? Okay, let's see. Well, that's good.
Delicious.
Excellent. Great, so we'll put those off to chill, and we'll get ready to make our second recipe.
Sounds good. Okay, for our second dish, as part of our cold summer supper, we're going to make a carrot beet slaw. And one of the ingredients that isn't in the title is a jicama.
Jicama, so you have carrot, beet, jicama slaw.
Right.
Root slaw, really, right? These are all root vegetables.
Exactly. Right? This is a jicama. It's a staple in Mexican cuisine, and you can find these locally. I, as you know, got these at Whole Foods. This is a beet.
Now, I just want to talk about the jicama a minute, because I've heard of it. I've probably eaten it in restaurants, but I didn't know what it looked like, and I certainly would not have chosen a recipe with this, because I'm sort of shy when it comes to recipes. If I see something I don't know about or I'm not familiar with, I skip over it. So I'm excited to learn about this. I'm glad that you're more adventurous than I am.
Well, it's loaded with calcium, potassium, magnesium. It's a super health food.
Really healthy, okay.
And in the book that I had referenced earlier, The 150 Healthiest Foods on Earth, the humble beet by this particular nutritionist was #1.
And number one healthiest food
on the planet Earth.
Wow, so you beet lovers are
good to go.
Know what you're doing.
So we've because beets are messy in terms of getting your hands kind of pink.
But it washes right off.
It washes off. But I've cut this up, and what I'm going to do just to start the recipe, I'm going to make it in 2 batches. First, I'm going to shred the roots. We have a cup of each. And then I'm going to make a marinade and combine it. So it's very simple. You could come home from work, have the ingredients in your refrigerator, or even cut them up the night before.
And have it ready.
And in 10 minutes, you could have this ready.
Okay. So similar to our first recipe, you look at the ingredients. It's colorful, fresh, healthy vegetables.
Exactly.
It's just packed with things that are good for you.
Well said. So I'm going to just start. I know it's a little noisy, but I'm going to just start by shredding some of these roots. And you can see how quick with the machine.
That's great. You've got it set for the shredding here up on top. Yeah,
Right,
that
you have
looks great.
to have the right blade. But I'll do a few more of these, and then, okay, so those are our beets. Here's the jicama.
That's the jicama. Okay, great.
It's a very white, fleshy root. First time I got a good machine like this, I was stunned by how fast I could do
that's
everything.
excellent. I don't know about you, but I used to shred using a mandolin.
Oh,
and
no.
you got to watch out for your fingers when you do it that way. So
Ex-
this is great.
Exactly. Okay, and then we have our carrots. These were the fresh kind that came with the top still on them.
Oh, yeah, right here. I
No-
can see them. They look great.
Not in a plastic bag. How quick is that? I'm going to add a couple more beets just to finish it off, and then we're done with the shredding. Okay, how easy was that?
Okay, that's great.
All
Pretty.
right. Yeah, very pretty. Okay, now we're going to make the marinade to help put the whole thing together. So, I think we'll just start with a little bit of water, two tablespoons of water.
Okay, and this recipe is from the,
Clean Eating Magazine.
and they have a website as well, Clean Eating website.
I didn't know that until you told me.
It's great. They help you plan menus. There's recipes. It's a fabulous, fabulous website.
Well, I've been getting the magazine for about a year now, and I take recipes all the time. They're just super helpful. So I'm going to start with the water. And by the way, I have the June issue posted at the end of the show so people can find where we got this recipe. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of water. Now we're going to add sesame tahini, and this is another super healthy food, and I think I read that the sesame seed is the oldest plant used for its oil and seeds.
I mean, you know what it looks like to me? It looks like natural peanut butter.
Yeah.
And again, this is another ingredient that, honestly, I would shy away from. I know what tahini is, but I've never used it. But you buy it just like this in a can, and
Yep.
but is it soft like this?
Well, it does come, if you refrigerate it, like to preserve it over a month or two or even longer, it gets hard. So you take it out in the morning or a few hours before you're going to make.
Okay, so just make sure you let it get to room temperature
Yeah.
before you're going to cook with it. Okay, that's a good tip.
Then a quick stir.
Stir it up to
Right.
blend it together. Okay,
Right,
great.
because it separates. And then it adds just so much depth of flavor to your recipes. Okay, so we're going to add some lime, give a little zing to our marinade. Okay, just like before, make sure there's no seeds. This one looked pretty.
Okay, what's next?
Next will be a half teaspoon of low sodium soy sauce, which isn't very much. You can add a little more to taste if you like. Okay, and now let's talk about the ginger root. Another root, super health food, one of the oldest medicinal foods in Indian culture. Looks kind
Like
of
a root.
kind of humble, but what I do, and I learned this on Food Network because it's so messy to work with when you actually try to grate it.
It gets very fibrous, and then you're trying to mince it, and it just gets all mushy.
So I bring it home from the market, I peel it, I take a 2-inch chunk like so, and this is, it's got a little ice on it.
But this is frozen.
It was frozen.
So you peel it and you freeze it,
right.
and you have it ready when you need it.
It's ready when I need it. It lasts forever.
Oh, that's great. You know what happens when I buy ginger?
What?
I put it in the fridge, and I come back 2 weeks later, and my ginger's blue.
Well, the other thing.
So, because you only need a little bit at a time.
Exactly. So before you microplane it, if you freeze it, this isn't quite frozen because we've been here a little while, but it becomes very much like
cheese almost. You're like shredding cheese, right?
except it's much neater.
No,
And then you get a little ridge in your
put that back in the freezer.
and you put it back in the freezer for next time. So I love ginger. I love the scent, and I love the
Oh yeah, and
the taste.
you have to use the fresh ginger in the recipe. The difference between fresh ginger and the
store-bought.
powdered kind, yeah.
Yeah, so it's much more powdery. Oh, you could see it's not quite as powdery as if it had stayed frozen, but it's super
No,
easy
but
to
the
work
texture is perfect. You can really blend it in well.
with. Right.
That is a great tip.
Again, I just saw the Food Network and I said, I'm going to do that. Okay, time for some honey, 1 tablespoon.
Okay, I can see this is local honey. That's very good. We got this at Whole Foods, right?
Littleton, New Hampshire.
Perfect.
So it didn't come across the world, as you said. Now, one of the other things that we can add is a little bit, this is a sweet chili sauce. You
Give
could
it
use
some zing.
You can use a hot sauce. You could use chili flakes, whatever you like to kind of give it a little zing.
Okay,
I
and there
just
you can.
eyeball
Oh, okay.
a
So
little bit.
you like it hot, but if you're not so into hot, you can put less.
And that's all you need. When we're done, we can put a little salt and pepper to taste. But there's a lot of depth of flavor in this. Okay, so there's our marinade. Maybe a little bit more of a whisk. And you want to have it a little bit liquidy so that it will distribute.
To coat the vegetables.
Right.
Okay.
So let's see how we did here. It looks like I'm going to be a little messy as well.
Okay. Do you want me to bring the bowl over for you?
Sure.
Hey, you did the same thing I did.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put this here. So I'm going to just take out my shredding blade, which is, there you go. Okay. So let's take out the spoon so I don't spill it. Now you can see it's kind of
so pretty. The beets really do give it its color, but you see all the different colors in there.
And in a moment, when we stir it up, they'll all marry together. There we go. So there's our slaw. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of, before I distribute it, a little bit of cilantro.
They can smell that. That smells wonderful.
I think that'll be enough. And I took about 2 tablespoons of raw, unsalted peanuts and finely chopped them. And it gives it some crunch.
Okay. Love peanuts. I think you put a little more than the recipe called for because we like peanuts. That's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think before I stir it in, I'll just add a little bit of salt and pepper, and then we'll be good to marry it all together. Okay. So I'm going to pour in my marinade. Okay.
There you go.
And the white jicama is going to turn pink.
Yeah, so they'll all really be colored by the beets. They're the visual part here.
Well, when I was slicing them this morning, my hands were bright pink, but as you said, it comes right off. It's really not a problem. Okay, how does that look?
That looks great.
All right. Would you like to try it?
Ready to taste it. Okay, this is super. Oh, that's great.
The ginger,
Really good.
it really makes it pop.
This is a fabulous recipe, Leslie. I just love all the roots in here.
I think you renamed it. From now on, we're going to have to call it root slaw.
Root slaw, okay.
But basically, we've taken all of our in-season fresh fruits and vegetables, and Jodi brought up an interesting point earlier. The jicama is from Mexico. It's one of
Not exactly local.
Right. But we want to be creative when we're eating healthy, and sometimes
Yeah, you can't have everything you eat be organic and local, and that's fine. I mean, I think really the goal is just to be more conscious of the decisions you're making, and you'll end up choosing healthy, sustainable foods more often.
more often. So that is our carrot beet slaw. Thank you so much for being with us this time on Boomer Being. See you next time.